robots would actually compete with human beings for jobs?
Africa is at a crossroads. You look today at Nigeria, of 180 million people. If you look at World Health Organization, they believe that number is going to go to 430 or 440 million in the next 30 years. That's extraordinary growth, right? The population is going to nearly triple. And is Africa ready for that? Is Nigeria ready for that? I'm not certain. I think as you grow that population, there's going to be tremendous opportunities. More people will need banking services. More people need other commercial services. But the extraordinary pressure that's going to put on the physical infrastructure is going to be very, very pronounced. Can you feed that many people? Are they going to have, access to sanitation and basic health care? And I think those kinds of challenges are going to be extraordinarily large. I admire what Gates Foundation is doing in Africa specifically. So it's a mixed bag. There's going to be plenty of opportunity, but at the same time, it's going to have severe challenges and severe stresses on the country.
If I'd ask you, what do you think countries like Nigeria should start doing today, considering the fact that they hold very important positions in the world?
I think Africa needs to focus on three pillars. One is just basic health and sanitary issues, and again, I refer to what the Gates Foundation is doing there. But with that hyper growth of population, it starts with healthcare and sanitary. Second, Nigeria has to get serious about food security and how you're going to think about feeding that many people in the coming 30 years. And the third issue I'd point out is education. If you look around the world, the countries that have raised their standard of living and have raised their gross domestic product have done an excellent job at focusing on education. If Nigeria builds the education infrastructure for people to learn the skills of the 21st century, you will raise per capita income. If you can, and you'll pull people out of poverty. So that would be my short answer. Focus on those three pillars: health and sanitation, secondarily, food security and agriculture policy, and thirdly, education.
So every startup wants to sell out to Silicon Valley at some point. Do you think this is a good idea?
So when that entrepreneur sells his company to a Google or to a Silicon Valley company, the intellectual property flows to the balance sheet of that company, and by definition, by default, you weaken the local ecosystem. If any place in the world, and it includes Nigeria, if you want to build a viable ecosystem, those entrepreneurs have to resist the temptation to sell. And it's a temptation that they likely will take.
Finally, Mark, what would you say to big companies about what they need to do to avoid being disrupted by startups?
Their largest challenge right now is their thinking. It's their mindset, it's their culture, it's their leadership, it's the way they think about talent, it's the way they think about management. So there's roughly 5,000 companies in the world with $1 billion in revenue. And they're all in, and MTN falls into this category, but there's 5,000 companies in the world with $1 billion in revenue around the world. And the problem with those companies is they were all born in the industrial age. Everything they know about management comes from a command and control hierarchy. We hire people at the bottom of the rung, at the bottom of the pyramid, and they're smart and they're educated, but we condition them to move slowly up the ranks. Large companies, you think about it, they're built for stability, they're built for reliability, they're built for predictability, and they have a short-term focus. So they're very, traditional companies are buzzword compliant. They have all the jargon, they read all the stuff, and they'll tell you all the buzzwords of blockchain and AI and IoT and VR and AR, and they know all the jargon, but it's not showing up in their growth. They're playing around the edges, and you look at the most valuable companies in the world. you look at the Googles and the Apples and the Facebooks, they were born digital. So the organizational differences between a traditional bank in Nigeria and a Google are truly night and day. So these companies have to realize they were born in a industrial age command and control mindset, and what's holding them back to be digital is their very organizational DNA. And they know these disruptors are born in a different era, and they're trying to copy them, and they're working on a blockchain, or they're working on cryptocurrencies or AI, whatever. But the problem is they're doing it with that old industrial age mindset, because it's a risk-adverse culture, and that risk-adverse culture is holding them back from really working on the big ideas as they ought to be.
Thank you for being on Tech Trends today.
Hey, it was great to be here and great to chat with you.
As you have heard from my guests, startups need to be supported in order to grow, and such growth will not happen overnight. Thank you for watching the show. Do follow us on social media, and don't forget, you can watch these and previous editions of the show on the Channels TV YouTube account or via my blog cfatech.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.